Hey YouTube, Moose Cow here. I just got in a copy of the reissue of 1914 by Renegade Games, and I figured, what the heck, let's do an unboxing video. So if you have a copy of 1914, if you have a copy of the original 1914, and you want to know what the differences are, such as myself, and also maybe you could use a few more pieces because why not? What the hey, this might be a good video for a lot of people. And if you don't have a copy of 1914, you'll be able to see what you get. And I would still would recommend, if you want to play Kings and Kaisers, still would recommend at least 2 copies of this game. This reissue has more chips and has a few more German and British pieces, I've been told. But because of the global expanse of our variation of this game versus 1914, still need I still highly recommend 2 copies of this game. The more pieces, the better in a global game, But anyway, yeah, I just got this in from Renegade Games directly. It's been available since end of June through them, and like other retailers are just finally getting it. Amazon just finally got it in. I ordered it from Renegade Games, and with using the coupon code Welcome20, it like took off 20%. So it basically was like 80. Came out to being $85 to get it shipped to me. And they did a pretty good job. I just took it out of the box, and you can see it's wrapped in bubble wrap, and it was shipped via FedEx, so no packaging or damage issues from what I could tell. But anyway, let's do an unboxing video. Let's do it. We'll get into this. Just gonna tear that open. There, got the nice shrink wrap. We got 1914. First thing you'll notice, I got a original copy of 1914 over here. First thing I notice is, in terms of the box art, that is different. That added age thing, and then of course we have over here, you have the Renegade Limited logo added on here instead of the age 12 and up. Now, one thing I do want to address is, since it's limited, I'm not sure exactly what that implies. It seems like this is going to be a limited run of some kind of this 1914, and I'm not really sure why they would do that, because they're reissuing the other Axis and Allies games, the Renegade games, but those aren't limited. So, because of the nature of this game and because it's been out of print for so long, I highly recommend, if you want this game, get it. If you want the pieces, get it. Just get it while you can. But the other thing I suspect, just to address this whole limited thing, the other thing I suspect, because this is a reissue with a few corrections and errata updated and stuff, but it's not a second edition, and they were very clear in a video or two that this is not a second edition. So, my suspicion is that it's possible that they're reissuing this reissue as a limited, and then later on down the road, because they are making new Axis and Allies games, maybe they'll do a proper second edition of 1914, and that won't be limited. That is just my hunch, but I don't know that for sure, so I highly recommend picking it up regardless, is basically what I'm saying, because the pieces in this game are worth their weight in gold if this becomes out of print again. So anyway, let's get this shrink wrap off, now that my little conspiracy hunch is out of the way. Okay. It's nothing quite like opening up a brand new game, right? Okay, get that out of there. All right. And this is what greets you when you open it. Got your rule book, which is, for me, the most important thing. I wanted to really check to see what the differences are, and I will be doing that in detail. You get your land battle board that is, for some reason, has to be punched. Just, probably a factory default thing. You got a little ad for upcoming games, Transformers, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe. You got your cardboard one-sided roundels. I will not be punching those out because because I got the HPG ones. And you got your two-piece map, right? You got your, if you're familiar, most of you are probably familiar with these. And then you have the individual boxes. One of them is the British one's upside down. It's kind of funny. And then you have your box for like your up there for like your chips and stuff like that. I'll come back to that in a bit. So if you haven't seen the 1914 map before, it looks something like this. Oh, and one thing I've noticed right away is that the boards are folded like this, whereas with the original version, I think they were folded more like, you know, they weren't folded like this. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, yeah, here is the map. Let's get it just right. And the problem I find with a lot of these style of maps of having two boards is that it's really difficult for the information to get lined up fully and not be repeated on one or the other. And as you can kind of see, this doesn't do a quite great job. In my opinion, if you get a copy of the map of this game and you are unsatisfied with the boards and you're fine with sticking with the boards, but you want that to be fixed, if you were to reach out to Renegade Games, they would probably send you a corrected, fixed one or another copy of it or whatever. But anyway, that aside, this is the 1914 map, and if you haven't seen it before, it's a little weird in comparison to other X and Allies games in that it's crooked like this. Africa looks very strange. I guess the idea is that like you're looking at, like if you were looking at a globe, like straight down at a globe of Europe, like that's how Africa would be skewed from that kind of standpoint. And you have just a small portion of US over here. You go all the way over to India, and you have not even all of India, but you just have it over here, and you got a little Bombay right there. And then here is Africa, and you have, in my 2 cents is that this is terrible. The worst. I actually enjoy this map. Some people don't. I actually really enjoy the style of this map and the coloring and stuff, but this is awful and just lazy. And in order to keep track of your IPCs, this is just the worst, most error-prone way you could possibly do it. Just my 2 cents. But otherwise, like, it's a good-looking map, I think. I like the colors. There's just a lot of issues that I found that we've corrected with our version of Kings and Kaisers. The biggest one, which is really what made me and Madman really want to make a new map. Biggest one is that C-Zone 20 is all of this, which doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, Bulgaria should actually border this C-Zone in C-Zone 20. But since it's, you know, it should border here. Greece shouldn't touch Constantinople. Bulgaria at the time had a border right there. You know, so you can't amphibious assault Bulgaria from here, basically. This C-Zone 20 really should be two separate C-Zones, and then there's not a rule about a strait here. The only strait or canal and the only canal rule in this game is in Egypt. You know, there's not, out of box at least, there's not one for Denmark, there's not one for Gibraltar. Gibraltar isn't even a territory and stuff, so we fixed that for Kings and Kaisers. But anyway, yeah, that is the map. They haven't changed anything with the map. And we added a lot of territories in Russia where it felt appropriate, because a lot of these spaces are just two huge chunks of land, like huge chunks of land. Like Ukraine is gigantic, Sevastopol is giant, and we also changed a lot of the names. In terms of what we did, we changed the names for a lot of territories to actual provinces rather than like Sevastopol is a city. It's not this gigantic territory. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to the pieces. First off, you got this box here. You open it. There's your chips. I'm definitely gonna be taking some of these because you just can't have enough chips. You get your original 10mm dice. I think that's the original games came with 36 of them. That looks like that's probably 36. So probably verify that for myself later. Germany. Alright. Get your bags, and basically every nation has like the same kind of pieces, except the infantry molds are different. Open that up. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 fighters, 4 tanks, 4 submarines, which is actually a complaint of mine. There should be more submarines. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cruisers, 4 battleships. They call them battleships, they're dreadnoughts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 transports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artillery. And then for Germany at least, we get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 infantry. So that is cool. Let's see. That is cool. To my amateur eye, I want to say these German infantry do look a slight shade lighter than the ones that I have. Let me quadruple check that. Let's see, this is an original. I'm not sure if it's registering, but it's very minimally different. Close enough, basically. I'd say there's a lot more flex on the reprint infantry than the originals. So that is interesting. It's definitely a different plastic. Okay, all right. So there's that. Now moving on to, I believe everybody's the same, like I said, except for Britain gets like 2 more infantry. It'll be basically the same, but every nation gets like the same amount of like fighters, battleships, transports, artillery. It's just that UK should have 2 extra infantry, and I'll double check that. 2 extra infantry, and Germany should have 4 extra infantry. But otherwise, you know, every nation's the same. I'll go over and also double check the if the setups have changed, but I don't believe they have. Again, it's a reissue, it's not a second edition. That's for certainly the same. Okay. Yep, Austria-Hungary. Ottoman Empire. Italy. And last but not least, Russia. Cool. So we got that. Put that aside. Okay, so the biggest difference, biggest things to look over are the rule books, because the correction of the rata is a big deal, I think. I'm going to go over, I'm going to cut in a bit and go over the rule books and check out everything that's different, everything that is different, and address it in a separate video. So, but right away, let's see, open this. Right away, the credits are over here in the original. This is the original. This it's empty over here. We got that little rating logo again there. I'm just quadruple checking. In general, it is 23 pages. The reissue is 23 pages, and the original is 23 pages. Okay, setup page. Oh. Wait a second, I think I skipped ahead a little bit. Wars 1, setup. Wars 1. That page, these pages to the untrained, to my eye, on first glance at least, look the same. Again, I'll look this over in detail. This is probably the same. Looks like it. There's that. I do know, yeah, they added Constantinople here. They added a clarification here with Constantinople that it's just saying that's one territory, not that it's another, you know, not like a Turkish Straits rule or whatever, but just that clarifying that this is one territory. And this, I know this is the big thing. So I'm gonna look this over in detail because I do have the official errata from that came out in March 31st, 2015. So I'm gonna go over these kind of the fine-tooth comb and see if what exactly from here made it into here and if anything else changed and stuff like that. So this is definitely a big, the biggest thing I would say, because in the original rule book, the Russian Revolution is just here. And they had to clarify, they really had to clarify it. So there's that. So anyway, that's at least one difference. I'm gonna go over everything else. I'm just gonna open up all the other pages and just show you straight up off the bat. All right. Very cool. All right. Awesome. I'm looking at the back. This is the back of the reissue. This is the back of the original. Slight jumbling of information. Change of the Renegade games information. And over here, when it was just Wizards of the Coast and Avalon Hill together. Now we got the added Renegade games, or Renegade Limited thing right there. Yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna cut, and I'm gonna kind of just do comparison of the pieces in detail, check the number of chips and everything, and go over this with a fine-tooth comb. So I'm gonna cut, and I'll be back. All right, we're back, continuing the unboxing of the reissue of Axis and Allies 1914 by Renegade Games. Now, before I go into my thoughts on the rulebook update, as I had started previously, I forgot to go over the back of the box, so I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'm also going to address the additional chips and stuff, a few other things. But anyway, so this is the reissue right here, and then this up here is my original, and you can see there's a lot of shelfware because it slid around on my game shelf quite a bit, you know. So it has some shelfware, but don't take that into account. But this is the reissue, and then this is the original. Slight different change of layout. You know, this is here present on the reissue. Information is different over here, etc., etc. I think here it says includes 22 all new unit sculpts. It doesn't say it down here. The contents over there is moved to this corner. But the most interesting thing is that they corrected something that was blatantly wrong, which was on the original. It says, under visitavalonhill.com, age 12 and up. time. 1 to 3 hours. If you can play this game in 1 to 3 hours, you deserve a medal. Players 2 to 8. And with the reissue, they at least updated it to 4 to 6 hours, which is much more realistic, but more than likely, especially if you're playing it for the first time with a bunch of people, I'd imagine you're probably going to play this for longer than 6 hours, and possibly in 2 settings, depending on your level of dedication. You know, but yeah, that is an interesting little update and an interesting little oversight with the original version. So you gotta laugh about that. Like, anybody playing this in 1 hour, if you play it in only 1 hour, that means you stop playing it. Like, it's as simple as that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So just kind of get those boxes out of the way. And then I kind of went over the chips, and it actually does list the amount of chips in the rule book, but just to make it crystal clear of how many additional chips they're giving you, they give you 5 additional of the 5 chips for each side, and 10 additional chips of the 1 chips for each side. So if you're not familiar, the essential powers are red, the allied powers are blue, the lighter colors are 1, and the darker colors are 5. So 1, 1, 5, 5. And that might seem weird if you're used to accidentalized standard chips, but like once you have it set up with the board, it actually is quite cool. And with all the territories and spaces you have and stuff, it's actually it kind of helps you visually, you know, like, oh, the central powers are over here, allied powers are over here. I don't know, it's a nice aesthetic. I like it. I understand why people might not like it, but I like it a lot. And then in terms of the coloration between the reissue and the original chips, these were the same. These, to my eye, under a light, seem the same. These seem the same. These seem the same. The lighter red chips, though, were I don't have an original. Actually, no. Well, let me see if it even shows up. But to my eye, if I may see, to my eye, the originals are just a teeny tiny bit brighter. But I don't know if my phone is gonna, if my phone is going to be able to capture that. But I could tell a slight visual difference. Especially if I look at them under the light. Let's see. Yeah. The reissue chips are a tiny bit duller. The reissue reds. My phone is not going to pick that up. But if you're very attentive to detail, and that might bother you, minuscule shade difference in the red chips, super minuscule. Like I had to hold it under a light so that I could see it. You're not going to see the difference if they're just on the board. And then also backing up, here's the British infantry. Here's an original. I know I went over with the German ones, but also just to kind of give you an idea. This is a reissue infantry, and there's a lot more flex. I assume, they're assuming either they went cheaper on the plastic, or they're assuming people will step on them and they wanted to give it more flex so that to prevent them from breaking, which is possible. I have never had an original break, but then again, I have never really been careless with my pieces either. What else to say? But that aside, the other pieces I did not notice. Going over the other pieces, I did not notice this level of flex with them. So it really is mostly just with the infantry pieces that have this bit of give to them and stuff like that. I personally would have preferred the same durability as these, or at least stiffness. Personally, that's just me. But I mean, they more or less look. They'll do this. They'll do the job. Maybe you can see in the British infantry is a tiny bit lighter. If my phone is picking it up, I think it is. It's a teeny bit lighter. Not that big of a deal. I think it was more noticeable with the German pieces. In terms of why I have these other pieces laid out here, I am going to take the subs, and I'm going to the German subs and the American transports, and I'm also going to take the Russian infantry because with our Kings and Kaisers game, you need a lot of Russian infantry. and 2 boxes worth is enough, but you know, I don't like to chip out everything sometimes. I'm also taking the transports because I don't like to chip out C units. That's just my little quirk. Anyway, now I'm done with talking about that stuff. Back to the rule book. This is probably the best reason to buy this reissue if you have an original. I've gone over this. I know I addressed it a little bit already before with the huge overhaul to the Russian Revolution section. This is the original. This whole page is the reissue. This is great. If you're going to play the original out-of-box game, this is great. They also beefed up some of this stuff too, which unfortunately means we lose a little bit of artistic design. We lose the "I want you" for U.S. Army Uncle Sam. He is not present in the reissue because they had to add extra space to flush this stuff out a little bit more. And I've noticed that in the book. I might not be able to find another page right off the bat, but there are a few pages where there's like an extra like little art detail missing. Yeah, like this is gone. But that's on the place, you know, like place units in the mobilization zone. That's was it step 3? Yeah, that's just here. They just bump it down to here, and they got rid of this picture entirely because it's not entirely necessary. Like if you look at the map, you could tell where the mobilization zone is, right? So that's another thing that's missing, stuff like that. And I think there's a few other ones like that. But overall, that's minor. I would rather the rule book be a better rule book than have artistic flair in it necessarily. If you can put artistic flair in it, by all means, but it's got to be a better rule book. And so very much like the errata from the Anniversary edition, when Anniversary Axis Allies was reissued, the rule book put all the errata in it, and I skimmed over the errata from 2015, and all of this errata is addressed, and the majority, if not all, of questions or just the frequently asked questions. The majority of the frequently asked questions are addressed in some way, shape, or form. The majority, if not all. There might have been a few I just didn't find, but I skimmed over most of them. Like this is like this: can a fighter fly over neutral territory on its way to another territory in the movement phase? They throw that in there. They throw in some minefield clarifications. They throw in mobilizing new units. Can the British Empire mobilize units in India if it is controlled by Central Powers? No, they add that in. If my capital is contested and I attack there, I lose all my units and cause to be captured by an enemy power, what happens to the units that I've purchased? The units are returned to your storage box for refund, and the power that takes control of your capital collects the refunded IPCs. Sorry for reading that fast, but yeah, that is also addressed. Little things like that, you know. And very important, this is a very important rule. It's of course bridged across 2 pages, but here, combat. If a multinational force is defending a territory and gains air supremacy, are all of defending artillery promoted, or only those belonging to the powers with fighters in the territory? And the correct answer is all of them are promoted. Whereas in the original rule book, let me see if I can find it. The original rule book made people definitely confused people, because in the original rule book it says, I do want to find this. Determine air supremacy. It says the player with air supremacy immediately promotes all of his or her artillery to the box that reads, etc. Now it says the side. It doesn't say the player. It says the side. So if you have, say, Germany attacked French and Britain, and there's only one French fighter left, that means it's the side with air supremacy, not just if France has one fighter, and then only the French artillery get boosted. No, the British artillery get boosted as well. So that's an important clarification and distinction that they did update in here. It's I'm not going to dig for it, but you get the gist. And again, the whole fleshing out the Russian Revolution optional rule, which is silly that it's an optional rule. That's the only way to play. That's the common consensus, but they add in the errata for it, and they also flesh it out with all the frequently asked questions referred to here. I don't think they address this one because they don't necessarily need to, or they do it in a less blatant way, but they do. You get the gist of it, basically, though, of what is Russia's relation with the other allied powers after the armistice occurs. I didn't find like anything specifically stating after the armistice, like what is specifically stating this question or rephrasing this question, but everything else is addressed, and you get the gist of that. I think that's just a more of a clarification for the errata, but you get the gist of that within all of this. And it's amazing to have it in one page, and you're not looking at this rule book, you're not looking at this small section, and then you're looking here, and then you're looking here to make sure you got it right. You're not looking in 3 places. It's all in one page. So if you're a fan of Out of Box 1914, it is worth picking up just for getting this rule book. If you're a big fan, if this updated rule book is a big deal. Also, I realized what I noted out previously with the credits here being removed, the credits are on the back of this manual. I didn't actually skim over them in detail before when I was recording, but yeah, that's where the credits went. They're on the back of the manual. The back of the original is just like questions and like contact information pretty much. So there you go, there you have it. Bam. Okay. Well, that about covers it. Yeah, about covers it. This was fun to do, and yeah, always fun to do a kind of unboxing video of some kind. I wish I had more of them on my channel, but maybe in the future, you know. Either way, I will be passing on a lot of these materials to Madman, so that he can have some extra stuff that I don't necessarily need, or maybe I'll hang on to some of it, but some more of it just in case. We'll see. Either way, I am going to set up another Kings and Kaisers game, because Madman and I are going to do another playtest, and tweak some more, try out some more change ideas and things like that. But anyway, stay tuned for future videos as always, and you know, always you just gotta remember, you just gotta roll the dice better, you know, that's what I always say. So anyway, stay tuned for more content in the future, and more Kings and Kaisers news as we fine tune it. So there you go, stay tuned.